And the next thing we're going to have a look at is this transfer case for this series. We'll just mess about taking gaskets off and things like that. We've been really stuck on. Yeah, we're going to have to spend a bit of time getting them off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they're being glued on. Well, that's not bad. Now, there isn't that much. I've decided to use the box that Michelle brought from the States because the gears in it were super nice. Yeah, they were really good. It might have been rebuilt at some, well, it probably has been rebuilt at some time. Well, like I say, we've got to get all these gaskets off. So to strip this down, it's been a long time since I've stripped one of these bad boys down. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make it up as we go along. I think what we'll do first of all is take this end cover off here with the speedo drive. Now what I usually do is like to feel that, feel my shaft, feel that if there's any end play on there. And that's really nice. The shims are really good in there. Anyway, we'll spin that off and see how we come on. We'll make some space in our parts box. We've got sockets everywhere now. Is that the one? No. Alright. It's been an awful long time since I've stripped one of these down. I think mainly what we're looking for is anything that's broken and just to replace any dodgy seals and clean up. Get these off. Wonder what we're going to find in here. Who knows? Right, that's all those screws off. All the washers are off. Take our dismantling tool. Ah, there's a little bit here that's, oh, that's alright. I was going to say there's a little bit there that's got a bit of a gap because the shim's behind here. There we go. There's a bit of washer in it still. Now on this one, do we have to take the speedo drive out first? I'm not sure, I can't remember. No. So there's our speedo drive and lots of oil. Nothing much to report in that one. There's a little O-ring we can supply in there, but I'm going to see if we've got an O-ring. An O-ring we can change. Well, I'm going to see if we've got an O-ring before we start messing about with that. There's the shims. So we'll keep those in order. And that, not sure if that comes off there or not. It's loose. Alright. Well, that's a mystery. Next thing. Take this cover off. There isn't much. because it hasn't got a centre diff lock or anything like that, there's not much in these. They're actually quite easy to do, and they were quite reliable. The problem was at the front end, and I'll show you that in a minute. Get these out. Tricky. Right, that's there. Two. Oh, let's see that. Yeah, you see all the old gaskets on there are all dry. We took that off because there's a pinch bolt in here. I'll show you that in a minute. We'll get that screw over here. This one. There's one of those detent balls in here. You've got to take that out. There we go. There it is on a plunger. Keep that. Next we'll spin it around a bit. We'll have a look at this front end, because these are really sort of strange devices to work on as a series, because to get it into four-wheel drive you used to push this down and that should spring forward. Oh, well, it still will do. Oh no, wait a minute. That's it. Well, to get it into four-wheel drive, you dropped that and that fell forward. And the biggest problem was inside these little these tin covers here. Anyway, we'll get this flange off, and then we'll get into there. Now, where's my? There we go. Take this. Somebody had this off before and made a mess of that. Break one leg off. There we go. Yeah, try and push that pin through. Get it off. Discard pin. Kaput. Spin off nut. Supposed to be a felt seal behind there, that's missing. What we're doing is we're going to check all these. We're going to change the seals anyway. We're going to check all the surfaces these run on. It's a little bit of pitting in there from rust. I'm going to see if we've got a better one of those. Now let's take this thing out of it. Ooh, that's already loose. Look, that lever. These levers here had a habit of seizing up. God help us, I'll give you these spanners today. What size is that? ½ inch. What size is it? Quarter width. How come that wouldn't fit before? Now this is a special pin, and usually what happens here is that these the pivots, if it's not used for four-wheel drive for a long time, seize up. I've known these pins snap off with corrosion. You'll see what it's like. when I get it out. You see, it's got a special shoulder on it. Get that off, pull that out. Again, this linkage has got a little slot in it. You can see there it's got a slot. This is as bent as a 9-bob bit, this thing, so I think we'll just change that. Right, next we've got to take this cover off. Take this off here. And I'll try and explain why this happens. Or what happens to it, should I say. You see the water come out of it from the steam cleaner. Now we've got to spin that nut off there before we can get it off, but it's starting to become quite clear. What's wrong? Or what can go wrong? When you see what happens is these get full of rust and dirt. You can see this one especially. There should be a little drain hole in the bottom, and this one's got pretty bashed up, so we're going to try and push a shaft through that and knock that out, because that one's better. I think that one's better than the other one. Oh yeah, the other one's all rusted out, but you can see the rust in there, how bad it is. Let's sort that out. So what happens is these shafts spring backwards and forwards. There's springs and all sorts in there. You can see them, look. See there, they're moving. And these seize up after a period of time. We're quite lucky. That's why I'm using this box, because I don't think it's been off the vehicle for quite a long time. So the next thing, I'll take this ring of bolts off here. This might take a little while, so I'll come back. So with the bolts out, again we can use our little dismantling tool and try and get into this and take the cover off. There we go. And there's our original oil seal in there. The old leather ones, they weren't too bad, but they've dried. They're absolutely rock solid now. So we'll put a new seal in there. We'll replace the gasket. Throw that away. Now, next thing I do think is the ring of bolts holding this on. I don't know. But there's a pinch bolt there, so I'm going to take that out straight away when I get the right spanner for it. That isn't it. That's it. This is a bit tricky. It's not too bad once it's loose. So then I'll take off this row of bolts round here. As these shafts have to pass through this housing and the ends are rusty, I just get a bit of emery cloth and polish off that corrosion. And make sure it's going to slide through there. These aren't too bad. I've seen them really, really bad before. But like I say, sometimes even on the vehicle you can repair this. In the old days this was quite a common fix, getting rust and rubbish in here. But just a bit of cleaning and greasing was work. And you see, the thing is, it's a part that gets neglected, but you can't really do anything with it, if you see what I mean. Bit of oil in there. Right, that's that. Dismantling tool. where it gets interesting, because we've got to pull that shaft through with the selector at the same time. There goes the spring. Spring has sprung. Well, it's calling me a lie because it's pulling it out the other way. There's the shaft come out. There's the notch where the fork went in. The fork's dropped out on the floor, naturally. Now, so, wait a minute, I'll tell you what we'll do. Yeah, so there's the fork. What we'll do, I think, do you know something? When I'm looking at this here, the bearings and things like this are perfect. I think all I'm going to do with this is just clean off, put it in the parts washer, soak it, degrease it, because there's nothing, you know, we're not changing every single bearing. The bearings are beautiful, the gears are beautiful, but we've got to get all this lot off. So I think we'll leave that as an assembly. We won't make work for ourselves, we'll leave that in assembly, wash it, and we'll come and have a look at this front piece. So before we assemble this, we're going to change the oil seals, because the old ones were leather, which were good in the day, but not today. Well, just tap them out. They were quite well made, a lot of work went into them. But you see, they've lost the flexibility, they've dried out. Now if you do want to put leather seals back in, if you've got some, soak them. Soak them in for like 24 hours in oil, light oil. And that makes them absorbent. And this is why a lot of problems why seals fail, like the leather ones, because you didn't soak them and they were just running dry. That was no good. The seal we've got as a replacement is it's tricky to fit. I'm going to put them on. I'm going to put them in with the press. So I'm going to knock this one out. I'm going to knock this one out and then press the other ones in. Well, I certainly butchered that one trying to get that one out. You would never get it out from the front. Remember our little tool here we use for pulling seals out? Well, we'd never get that out using this type of tool because they're too rigid. On the modern oil seal, which are very thin, you can get behind that lip and you can tip them, and this will collapse a little bit, allowing you to pull it out. But the old ones, there was nowhere to move them, so that's why they make the covers like this. Again, you see the sealer they've put in? I'll wash this out, we'll push the seals in with the press. You don't need to see that. I've had to come to the vice to put this piece together because it is so frustrating, it's unbelievable. There's so many actions you've got to pull together at the same time to get this to work. Like for example, you've got to put all this lot in here. Right, there's your assembly, but at the same time, on this fork that keeps spinning round, you've got to put this drive. So this time I've put this in the vise, and hopefully by sort of holding these together, we can get it to go in. Because I just haven't got enough hands. What happens is it drops in and then that little balancy bit drops. Oh, damn it. Yeah, it keeps dropping out. One goes through but the others won't. Ah, damn it. Is that it? Is it in? Is it buggery? Oh man, this is frustrating. Here, come round here and you have a look. So what happens is, because one shaft's longer than the other, it goes through the hole first. Then we've got to get that dog clutch lined up. And I think that is it. Now wait a minute, before I let you have a look and embarrass myself. Yeah, that's in. I think the easiest way to explain it is that little pivot fork, when you're putting the shafts through, allows one to come down. Let me take the camera off and I'll show you. You can see down inside here with the light. You've got to check. You see that bolt right down at the bottom, that pivot right down at the bottom is horizontal and both pins are in. Otherwise it ain't going to work, and that's got to line up. So that is actually done like that. The next thing is we've got to work out putting these springs and things like that on. Whew, I don't like this job.